Arlington, Texas, lose 3 consecutive games after winning 3 straight and scoring at least 28 points in 6 consecutive games. Get beat by a combined score of 9,222. Failed to score at least 10 points in 3 consecutive games for the first time in franchise history. Flounder in 3 consecutive second halves. Let your quarterback get sacked 14 times over those 3 games. Get yourself just 1 sack in those 3 games. Then it's the coach has to go. The coordinators, too. Dez is done. Witten is old. Doc ain't what everyone thought he was. The beat-up offensive line no longer is the best in the NFL. Can't draft. Can't adjust. Can't hit gold in free agency. Worst of all, the Q word started floating around. As in quit, you name it, we heard it. For 18 straight days. Fizz noise encompassing the Dallas Cowboys belly flopping from 53 to 56 deafening. Well, maybe the star comes equipped with noise-canceling headphones, because you know what, Cowboys 38, the skinned Washingtonians 14 did just that. Screamed in response, similar to what Ezekiel Elliott flippantly said in response earlier this season when someone tried suggesting to him he had lost a step, that he was not as fast, maybe overweight. Shut up now, I get it. This is only one game. The Cowboys are just 66. The victory basically the first of logically what will need to be 5 straight if they have any hopes of becoming a playoff team in consecutive seasons for the first time since 199,899. They got a long way to go. But the hardest part of a journey is the first step. Consider that step taken. Yeah, we really live inside our building. Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett began after Thursday night's somewhat revival victory here at that stadium. We don't spend a lot of time listening to the noise inside or outside of our building, good, bad, or indifferent. We come back to work, and you know, our guys got back to work on Thanksgiving Sunday. Everybody else was enjoying breakfast on Sunday morning after Thanksgiving. We had a Wednesday practice, and by then the noise was burying the Cowboys. Fan frustration had boiled over. The NFL threw up a red flag, already flexing them out of the December 10th game at the Giants from 3 to 5 p.m. CT to noon, suggesting they, and for sure the 29 New Yorkers, were not fit for prime time. Hey, you, too, shut up. What the Cowboys did on Thursday night is what all those legal folks couldn't do for Zeke. Granted themselves a stay on the season. There is so much more to still play for with 4 games remaining. We had to come out and get this win for sure to keep our season alive, and that was the main thing, said current NFL sack leader DeMarcus Lawrence, his 2 sacks in the game upping his total to 13.5, the most by a Cowboy since DeMarcus Ware had 19.5 in 2011. So what in the world happened? The Cowboys going from what increasingly had become dead team walking to breathing life back into what seemed to have been a dying season. Start with the offensive line. That group was the healthiest it's been since the Cowboys notched their 5th win back on November 5th over Kansas City. Tyron Smith was back. Zach Martin was back. La'el Collins gutted out a game after not practicing all week because of back issues. And it showed. After being sacked 14 times during the 3-game losing streak, Dak Prescott was sacked only once by the Redskins 57. He was hit only 5 other times. That's acceptable. Then there was the running game. Alfred Morris looking more like the running back who previously terrorized the Cowboys when with the Redskins. He didn't suddenly remember how to run the ball. He had somewhere to run, gaining 127 yards, his first 100-yard game since the 2015 season finale with the Redskins 100. In fact, that was his most single-game yards rushing in the past 65 games. The big guys were mauling up front. Maybe the return of former starting right tackle Doug Free, having retired this offseason, inspired his young pups with his presence. Whatever, the Cowboys ran for 2 counts, something they had not done since Kansas City, Zeke's last game before the start of his 6-game suspension. 2 remaining. Throw the defensive front in this revitalization game, too. 4 sacks, 3 more than those guys had in the previous 3 games. Why, the Cowboys had given up 428 yards rushing during the 3-game losing streak. The Skins waddled along for just 56, then there were the 4 takeaways, 3 more in one game than they had during the 3-game losing streak. The Cowboys were hidden and that seemed to become contagious. Even special teams got into the act, forcing 1 turnover, and rookie Ryan Switzer demonstrating why the Cowboys used a 4th-round pick on the North Carolina receiver return specialist. He returned a punt 83 yards for his first NFL 2-count and first return for a 2-count since the 10th game of his junior season with the Tar Heels. So complete team effort, Garrett was proud to say. Guys battled all week long, fought throughout this ball game, played for 60 minutes and played the right way, and while 66 is nothing much to write home about, think about the youthful exuberance in the game and their contributions for those with no more than 3 years of experience. Doc 2, Lale Collins 3, Rod Smith 2, Switzer R, Taco Charlton R, Chidobia Woozy R, Jordan Luis R, Xavier Woods R, Kevin Frazier 2, Maliak Collins 2, Jalen Smith 1, David Irving 3, Byron Jones 3, Anthony Brown 2, Damian Wilson 3, Lewis Neal R, Richard Ash 1 and Noah Brown RO, and had Zeke been there, then add another 2. These are not just some Joes from the neighborhood. If Zeke had been there, 10 of those guys were starters against Washington. Let some of that sink in. So here is where the Cowboys are with 4 games remaining. Zeke must miss the next 2 games. There is a real good chance Sean Lee returns for the December 10th game against the Giants. Now, they might be 4.5 game behind the Eagles in the NFC East, but when removing the 4 division leaders from the equation, there are then 4 non-first-place teams with better records than the Cowboys vying for the 2 wildcard playoff spots: Carolina 83, Seattle 74, Atlanta 74 and Detroit 65. And for a quick reference of this weekend's games, Philly is at Seattle, Carolina is at New Orleans, Detroit is at Baltimore and Minnesota is at Atlanta. Someone has to lose. We can bother ourselves with that kind of stuff, but as for the Cowboys, they must worry only about themselves. As for all the rest, all that noise out there, even from those who might have said after 3,814, well, the Cowboys finally found a team bad enough they could beat. Hey, I heard that heading down the elevator after the game. The Cowboys' performance, at least for this Thursday night, had 2 words for all that shit up. Read.